Good morning. My name is Bret. For those of you who don't know me, my Dharma name is Xianbei. I'm one of the student teachers, and this year we'll be doing talks on Thich Nhat. One of his books is The Heart of the Buddhist Teaching, and that's the book I chose. So there's just a few things in this book that kind of really jumped out at me that I wanted to talk about. And the first one is the saying in Mahayana Buddhism, and this is the first time I've actually come across this, and it goes like this. In the Mahayana Buddhist tradition, it is said, quote, "If you explain the meaning of every word and phrase in the sutras, you slander the Buddhas of the three times, past, present, and future. But if you disregard even one word of the sutras, you risk speaking the words of Mara." So this is a profound saying. Let me read the first part again so we can talk about it. It says, "If you explain the meaning of every word and phrase in the sutras, you slander the Buddhas of the three times." So when I first read that, the first thing that popped into my mind was teachings from the Diamond Sutra and other teachings where we know reality is beyond words and concepts. And so if we get attached to some of the words and concepts that we learn in the teachings, we know in Buddhism, no matter what we get attached to, if we're attached to it, we get stuck, because it's very important to be able to let go of things. So we shouldn't get so attached to words and concepts. We have to remember that the teachings themselves are not insight. They're pointing the way to insight. They're a guide for us, so we can find it ourselves. They're like a map. You go to St. Louis, you've never been there, you need a map to find your way around, but it's just a guide to help us along, so don't get attached to the teachings so strongly. Now the second part is, but if you disregard even one word of the sutras, you risk speaking the words of Mara. So if we have a teaching and it doesn't quite agree with our own viewpoint or opinion about things, I think then equally, if we hold on, we can attach to the words and concepts in the first part, but if we get stuck or attached to our own opinions or own viewpoints of things, we are also stuck. The best thing to do, I think, is when something doesn't agree with your viewpoint, you can investigate it further and bring it up to other people and get different perspectives, get different viewpoints. I think this is very important because I think we've all known people that are so stuck on their views and their opinions, they hold on to them so tightly and they don't let go, and when there's new information comes around or they gain some new knowledge, it causes them to suffer. Or, if you kind of question their viewpoint and they get real defensive and they get angry. This is not the Buddhist teaching, is we can hold our views lightly, so when we do have new information, we can change. Because all things are impermanent, even our views should be able to change, so don't hold on so tightly. And this is how we can grow as individuals, I think, instead of don't attach. So either way, we shouldn't attach. Another thing that jumped out to me that's kind of in accord with what I just talked about is first in the Mahasachaka Sutta, which is in the Majjhima Nikaya, it's number 36. And this is where the Buddha is talking to Sachaka Agivasana. And this is the sutta where the Buddha is explaining to him when he left home and took up the robes and shaved his head, and he practiced with all the great masters of that time, and he was searching for liberation, and he rose up to each master's level. He rose to their level, and in a short amount of time, and realized that he attained a lot of wonderful meditation practices and deep. It did very well, but it still didn't. Wasn't liberated through his practices. So after he was kind of on his own then. After that, because he was as high as his teacher, so he was kind of on his own, no one to guide him. And so he practiced all these things. This the one where he stopped breathing, and he had these great sound in his ears, and these terrible pains in his stomach, and these things. And what was the other one? Oh, and he would stop eating, and of course the Davis would keep him alive. And then he figured he would take a little bit of food. And one of the practices he did, it's in here, is, now let's go ahead and read it. He thought, why don't I grit my teeth, press my tongue against my palate, and use my mind to repress my mind. Then as a wrestler might take hold of the head or the shoulders of someone weaker than he, and in order to restrain and coerce that person, he has to hold him down constantly without letting go for a moment. So I gritted my teeth, pressed my tongue against my palate, and used my mind to suppress my mind. As I did this, I was bathed in sweat. Although I was not lacking in strength, although I maintained mindfulness and did not fall from mindfulness, my body and mind were not at peace, and I was exhausted by these efforts. This practice caused other feelings of pain to arise in me, besides the pain associated with the austerities, and I was not able to tame my mind. So in here, the Buddha is telling us that to not practice in this way because it didn't lead to liberation. But in the same book, in the Majjhima Nikaya, number 20, in the Vitakka Santana Sutta, which is called the relaxation of thoughts, this is where the Buddha is talking about two monks when unwholesome thoughts might arise. Any thoughts connected with desires, aversion, or delusion arise. There's different techniques they can use to deal with these thoughts. And just briefly to mention them is to attend to another theme, like if these thoughts arise, attend to another theme. Scrutinize. If that doesn't work, then they can scrutinize the drawbacks of these unwholesome thoughts that are arising. If that doesn't work, they can pay no mind and pay no attention to these thoughts. And then if that doesn't work, they can attend to relaxing of thought fabrications in regards to the thoughts. It doesn't really get into what that means exactly, but I just think tranquilizing the mind, kind of letting the thoughts go. But then the last thing is what I just read in the book about crushing the mind with mind, and pressing your tongue against the roof of your mouth, and doing that, which I just read was the Buddha said, this is not a practice he recommends. It doesn't lead to liberation. But yet it is in this other sutta. And so the question becomes, is this a discrepancy in the teachings? And I don't know. I'm kind of throwing this out here. According to Thich Nhat, it is a discrepancy. And but this shouldn't be very surprising, I feel, if there are some discrepancies in the teachings, because we have to remember, in the time of the Buddha, all the teachings were orally transmitted, and for 300 plus years after his death, they were orally transmitted, and they weren't written down. And when they were written down, there was already 18 to 20 different schools of Buddhism, only a couple that have survived today, but so they differed on different aspects of the teachings. And of course, when they were originally written down, they were written in Pali or Sanskrit. And apparently the Buddha, I think they don't know for certain, but his native language was Magadhi, which I think is very similar to Pali or Sanskrit, but it wasn't. So it would be, I think, very natural for some of the meanings of some of the teachings to be misunderstood or misrepresented over time. And so The point I'm making with all of this is that, as Thich Nhat Hanh says, often we need to study several discourses and compare them in order to understand which is the true teaching of the Buddha. If we see each sutra in light of the overall body of teachings, we will not be attached to any one teaching. So I think this is very important to understand. I know last year in our book study group, we studied the life of the Buddha by Bhikkhu Nyanamoli. And I know in reading that book, there were several things in there that I had just trouble understanding. And but that was very valuable to have the book study group, because we would bring these topics up and I would get perspectives that I would have never got on my own, to have different viewpoints from different people and different opinions and perspectives. And it really helped me, and so I wasn't so attached to my own view. It helped me to understand a lot more. So I think this is such a valuable resource to be here at Maba and to have the Sangha and the teachers and the study groups and whatnot. I think it's very beneficial. So the next part of the talk, I just actually realized during walking meditation that this should probably be classified under right view. I didn't have I think this would fall in the category. I know that many people believe, and particularly newcomers, that think that the Buddha's message was that life is nothing but dukkha, or nothing but suffering. But we know that the Buddha also acknowledged the happiness and joy in life too. So don't be misled by that. His message could have been, I tried all these practices because he was in search of enlightenment for liberation. And his message could have been, I tried all these things and I've discovered that I haven't been able to break through the samsara, this existence. Life is nothing but highs and lows, happiness and sorrows, and that's just the way it is, deal with it. But that was not what his message was. His message was, I have broken through the samsaric existence. I'm liberated. There's no more suffering for me. There's no more birth and death for me. I've reached nirvana. So the Four Noble Truths is a very positive message, because he's saying, I have done this and you can too. And this Noble Eightfold Path, this is the way you can follow to reach liberation for yourself. So his message is a very positive one. I think often just a little misconstrued as, Buddhism is nothing but suffering, and life is suffering, which is not the message. So I think as far as right view, I think as long as we are stuck in this conventional reality, in Buddhism, conventional reality and an ultimate, or I should say conventional truth and an ultimate truth. In a conventional truth, we recognize the signs and the characteristics of things. Like this table in front of me. I see it as just a table. It's useful, functional, made of wood, and that would be the conventional truth. But in ultimate truth, we can see a greater reality. I can look at this table, and I see this table as impermanent, like all conditioned things are impermanent. I see this table is made of wood, and this wood, of course, came from a tree. And this tree, part of this tree is the parent trees that created the seed where this tree came from. So it's a continuation of the parent trees. I see that this tree is made up of rain to keep the tree alive, and the earth and the nutrients in the soil to keep the tree alive. It is made up of the air, so the tree can breathe carbon dioxide and gives us oxygen for us to breathe. So the tree is made of the air. And of course, the tree is made of the sun as well. tree could not survive without sun. So this table is made of the earth, the air, and the sun, and all of those things, and much, much more. And of course, we can look at ourselves that way too. You can see the empty nature of the self, the ultimate truth. What are you made of? You know, your parents, and they're made of their parents and their parents, and on and on and on. And what about the food you eat? Are you made of the food you eat? What about the water you drink? Are you made of that? What about the air you breathe? We couldn't be here without the earth or the sun. In fact, there's elements in our body that were born in stars that form these higher elements when the stars exploded. And these gas clouds were created and they coalesced here on Earth, and now these elements are in our bodies. So we are made of stardust too. So in fact we are, Stephen Hawking says, we are the universe aware of itself. So we can see that we are, you could say we're individuals as part of the whole, and the whole is an individual. This is seeing the ultimate truth of things. And it's my view and my belief that the more we can see this ultimate truth in all things, which is the selfless nature, the interbeing of all things, the less samsara, the less dukkha or suffering will have a hold on us. And the more we can kind of chip away at our own unsatisfactoriness, the less it is a factor in the equation of our life. You know, it's very strong in the conventional terms when we just see things, the sign of things, the characteristics of things. Dukkha is always there. It's always going to come up and bite us. But when we see things in the ultimate truth, that we are really, just interbeing with everything else. I think suffering is a hard, difficult time finding a foothold there. I just think that's part of the path that we walk. We can use that in our everyday life. So it's just my hope that that we all can see this ultimate truth more frequently. And unfortunately, often the words we use are steeped in conventional truth, but just remember that ultimate truth is a greater reality, if you will, and we can have less suffering if we keep open minds about it. Thank you.